Hello and welcome along to episode 5 of the Bunnyhop, proudly powered by Cannondale. Coming up this month, we have a special feature from our woman at the Olympics, Eurosport host Orla Chennaoui. The Bunnyhop heads to Wales for a spin with Trek-Segafredo's Elynor Backstedt. Coryn Rivera reveals what makes her tick in Something About Me. And we discuss all the happenings from the Giro Donne. Well, it is good to be back, and joining me today here in the Bunnyhop studio once again is double Olympic gold medalist and score skiver Jo Rowsell. And alongside us both is journalist and pepperami obsessive Robyn Davidson. It's worth it for that reaction.
Olympic medalist, pepperami eater.
Well, you know we like to mix it up. Is it true?
I mean, I'm not going to lie in front of Joanna Rowsell. I mean, do I like to eat the occasional pepperami? Yes, but I mean, I also eat healthy things like lettuce. I know my mum's watching. So.
Now, Jo, I have to caveat that intro with the fact that you are one of the most academic people I've ever met in my life. And you are, of course, en route to becoming a doctor, but you did get out of double maths.
I did. So that's a story of how I was talent spotted and how I started cycling. Back in 2003, British Cycling came to my school to do some talent ID tests. I wasn't into cycling at all, knew nothing about the sport, but the day they came was a nice sunny day in July, and it happened to clash with double maths. So like double maths versus cycling on the playing field. I took cycling on the playing field, and I guess the rest is history.
Well, it's been a long time coming, but the Olympics have finally arrived. Here's the view from the ground in Tokyo from Eurosport's finest, Orla Chennaoui.
It's the night before the road race. We would often, or normally, have a little bit of an inkling as to what's going on inside the camps, as to how the riders are feeling. Not the case this time. Everything is so much more restricted. Obviously, they're quite a way away as well. So we're turning up fairly blind tomorrow, which makes it very interesting. However, in the press pen today, what everyone was talking about for the women's road race was the Dutch quartet. How can they be beaten? Lots of scratching of heads trying to work that one out. Let's see tomorrow, shall we? Ready to go. We're at the Fuji International Speedway, heading up to our live spot ahead of the women's road race. See you there, or maybe not, because I don't see through the telly. That's how it works. Just done our pre-race show for Eurosport. The race is just getting underway. We'll see how this day pans out. It's hot here. A little bit of a breeze, a little bit warmer it feels than yesterday. So that's going to play into this race, you would think. Been here for 2 days now, and I've finally worked out where Mount Fuji is. Been inside the entire time, and every time it's been behind clouds. Can we see it? I can't even see it now in the thing. That's it. No. Oh man, I can't even see it. It's over there. Back at the hotel room now, 12 hours after leaving, and we were hoping for an exciting, unexpected, dynamic race. That's exactly what we got. Even Anna Kiesenhofer would not have predicted at the start of today that she would be finishing her first Olympics as Olympic champion. She was a 500-to-1 bet for the win. I spoke to her afterwards, and she still looked a little bit shell-shocked. It was phenomenal. I also spoke to Annemiek van Vleuten. It has been widely reported that she thought that she had won when she crossed the line with her arms in the air. She said she felt stupid, which made me feel sad, because it's just one of those things. She said to me that she didn't see any time gaps, that there were no whiteboards. That has been contested, but that was simply her observation. I understand there were communication problems between the team coach on the line and those back in the team car. And she was full of congratulations for Anna Kiesenhofer, despite some comments on social media saying that she was begrudging. She wasn't in her interview with me, at least. But that's it, done now. As ever, back at the hotel late. So this is my dinner for the night. I have some tuna and mayonnaise, fatty tuna with green onions. Didn't realise I got the double tuna. Choco mint, the cutest little carton of Yakult. It has been 5 years in the waiting, but we finally have a new Olympic champion. Still a long Olympic journey for me left, but from the Olympic road race, at least. It's over and out from Tokyo 2020.
Well, Jo, of course, you've been following and are following the Olympics incredibly closely. What are we looking out for on the track?
Yes, the big news on the track for the women is that there's an extra medal event at this Games. There is now the Women's Marathon, which is really exciting news. It's probably the most open race out of all the races on the track cycling at the Olympic Games. Kirsten Wild and Amy Peters, they've been world champion, European champions, so really exciting pair.
And what else have you got your eye on?
Yeah, so I've been reigning Olympic champion in the team pursuit for 9 years now, which is a cheeky little extra year that I got, not just 8 years, but that will go next week. So really exciting to watch the team pursuit. I also hold the world record, but I'm fully expecting that world record to get broken, probably by a few teams, to be honest, because that's what happens at these sort of games.
Exciting indeed. And of course, we've had plenty of action over on the road, most notably with the Giro Donne, the longest stage race on the calendar, in fact. Robyn, I'll come to you for this one. A fourth win for Anna van der Breggen.
I know, it's so impressive, isn't it? She's just an absolute machine. And not only was Anna van der Breggen, but it was SD Works domination, not only with the GC, but they were also 1, 2, 3 on more than one occasion during stages.
And Jo, a stage victory for Ashley Mormon-Passio from the team as well.
Yes, I believe that was her 10th start in this race and first ever stage win. She's a rider that is an incredible climber. Not really got that sprint on her though, so I think it's rare that she's really had these big opportunities like this. But you know, what better way to take your first Giro stage win than that?
Was there any key contenders that you thought would be up there and perhaps weren't for you?
I'd say everyone loves the sort of explosiveness of Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig, and obviously with the stage 1 crash, she was about 1 minute and 40 down, so in that team time trial. And then she was injured from that and had to pull out at a later date. And I think that's really unfortunate because this is, as you say, the biggest stage race.
All eyes were probably on Alyssa Longo-Borghini thinking, you know, is she going to be the team leader for this race? Are we going to see an Italian victory in a home stage race? But then sort of all things changed on the next stage. She lost over 8 minutes, I think it was. Yeah. And that's quite an interesting sort of situation to be in as a team. If you come in with someone who's your race leader and they just don't have the legs on the day, like the team has to adjust, and you've got 10 days of racing. You know, they might come round, but when you've got that much of a time loss, they're not going to be the team leader anymore. So again, it's sort of a lesson in being adaptable as athletes. And then we saw Lizzie Deignan ended up finishing 4th overall, which was a really good result for her, especially given, you know, I don't think she came into this race expecting to be the GC rider by any means.
And talking of objectives, of course, when you're looking at a 10-day stage race on the calendar, that can look different for different riders, for different teams. And actually for DSM, they had some exciting performances.
Absolutely. They had Lorena Wiebes, who is an absolute sprint phenomenon. She was pretty much a lot of the time against Emma Norsgaard of Team Movistar, who I would say Lorena is definitely the faster in a 1-to-1 sprint. But she had a lot of impressive performances. They've battled previously at Scheldeprijs. So it was sort of nice to see them across the 10-day stage, sort of see who would get the upper opportunity and take the stage win. And a lot of the times for DSM, it was Lorena, but it was Rivera on the final day. And so on the days that Rivera was winning, Lorena Wiebes was able to provide her with a sort of really good lead out and vice versa. And I think it's really nice that there's that dynamic within the team.
And also, speaking of sprint prowess, a very emotional victory for Coryn Rivera.
It was a brilliant sprint at the end against Lizzie Deignan on the final stage for her to take the win, her first win for nearly 2 years. But yeah, very emotional, like you say, because her father actually died of COVID earlier this year. You know, I can't even imagine how difficult that must have been for her. So for her to then come back over to Europe and to win a bike race and to dedicate that to him, that is, you know, absolutely incredible. So huge well done to her.
Yeah, I mean, she said after the stage that it was like having an angel on her shoulder, and you know, I can't think of how, you know, that has sort of been lifted, but in a good way, because you know, that win really was for her dad, and also on the day of her fiance's birthday, I believe.
And Jo, someone you know very well from your days as one of her competitors is Marianne Vos. 30 stage victories now at the Giro.
It is absolutely incredible. She's had such a long career. She won her first world title back in 2004 as a first-year junior. It's now 2021 and she's winning stages of Grand Tours. She fascinates me as an athlete, and I listened to a really interesting interview with her the other day where she talked about it's not about being happy about the wins, it's about being happy in life in general, enjoying the process, enjoying the training, enjoying the travelling. And if you're enjoying all of that, then the wins will come, but you can't just pin your happiness on winning bike races.
Moving away from the race action just for a moment now, let's take a trip to Wales to meet Trek-Segafredo's rising star, Elynor Backstedt.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Is it always like this in Wales?
No, never. The sun's come out for you today.
What kind of route have you got up your sleeve?
So today I'm going to take you around the beautiful coast of Wales.
Whoop, whoop. Should we go and try and get a bit of a breeze?
Yeah, let's hope so. So now we're going to head to the beach. This is my favourite spot, my favourite loop. You can just see all the coast. And if the weather is especially nice, you can see England. If it's like a super nice day, I just want to stop like a million times and take pictures. Gotta get the ponytail in, otherwise I look like Dad.
So you've probably got quite mixed emotions about sitting in this spot.
Yeah. Yeah, so last year when I was in a cast, we came to this beach here, you know, on my crutches. It was really nice to just bring the family here and spend some time outside because, you know, in a pandemic with a broken bone, you can't really go and do much or see people. So it was really nice to get out the house and come here with everyone.
So that was the second time that you've broken your leg.
Yeah.
Can you tell me again what happened?
So I was out mountain biking with my dad and my sister, and we were coming probably something as steep as this, and I just kind of slipped on some loose dirt and I put my foot out and just rolled my ankle, and before I even hit the ground I knew that it was broken because I'd experienced that pain before, and I just knew, and I managed in time before the pain kicked in to just say to my dad, like, I've just broken my leg, and he was like, well, what do you mean you just broken it? And then the pain just came in and I couldn't move it a millimetre without screaming. And my dad, bless him, was there squatting with my leg like this for about 2.5 hours until they managed to get the ambulance. I was in a full cast for about 2 months, and then you've lost all the muscle in your quads, and you know, that was obviously hard, and there's still like fear in your brain trying to protect the leg from all these things, even though it's healed and you know it's healed. Your brain is like, oh no, you can't do this, you can't run, you can't jump.
And how do you start to overcome that fear? Does it completely go, or are you just managing it?
It takes a lot to come over those fears, definitely. Like for a while I had a lot of fear of descending. You know, my last 2 big crashes have kind of been going downhill, so my brain was petrified, absolutely petrified of going downhill, and it takes a lot of practice and to have a lot of good people around you to come through those. But it's the same with life, isn't it? You're always going to have these small challenges, but it's just like pushing yourself to do the uncomfortable things, and then you get through it and you're much better off for it.
Can you sum up just what it meant to step into this team, these colours?
It was definitely a big adjustment coming from juniors, you know. The races are no longer than like 90k. Having massages, we never really had those before. So that was like something I really had to get used to, you know. My legs, they would be bruised because I never really had them consecutively before. It's just silly things like that you don't think about, but it just makes so much difference, like having fresh kit, like straight out of the washing machine. You know, then if it rains, you don't get all these little bubbles in your chamois where you forgot to rinse out your shower gel from your shorts, and it's a whole different world, but I love it so much.
How big was it, I guess, or daunting stepping into such a renowned team?
I was really scared. You know, the first training camp I did, I roomed with Ellen and I was so starstruck, but you just can't show that, you know. It's really difficult, like separating your, like, you know, what you've like looked up to when you've been growing up to now what you're living every day when you're on these training camps. It's really a strange experience. Photo ready.
Am I right in thinking you would have been about 2 years old when your dad won Paris-Roubaix?
Yeah, about that. I think it was not long before my 3rd birthday. Only kind of remember it from watching videos and people telling stories because I was just far too young. But like when he's taking me in all the team buses when I'm like 7, 8, you're like, whoa, this is so cool. And it's really like a nice thing to grow up around.
And it's not just your dad's footsteps that you're following in, is it? Because your mum was a very handy bike rider, racer as well.
She's got so many achievements that she just doesn't talk about, like ex-national champion, you know, she went to the Commonwealth Games, she's got a medal in the Junior Worlds in track sprinting, and yeah, she just does not give herself enough credit, and I think people forget that she was such an incredible bike rider, so I always like to give her the credit that she never gives herself.
It must be quite nice now for your mum to see the support you get in the peloton today, when, let's face it, it wouldn't have been the same for her back then.
Yeah, I think it's really nice for her to see that like we can have it as a permanent job. We don't need little side jobs or side hustles to make a living and do what we love. She had a very short career but a very good career, and I think if there'd been that support system and the income, she would have definitely got a lot further. And I think because of these things, it is really difficult for her to look back and think of how it could have gone or what if, but it's nice now that she can look forward and see that actually, because she stopped cycling, she had me and my sister, and now we're getting to do what she never got to do, and she's kind of joining along with us, and I think that's really nice for her, and she's able to come and support us at the races or support us through watching the live streams at home. And yeah, I can just see how happy it makes us both. I've been kind of pulling her out with me on my like shorter rides recently, and she says to me, I'm not a climber, but she is a climber, and she gets really competitive on the climbs. Now she'll be chasing down anyone she can see on the climbs, and I'm like, see you later.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, she's got so strong recently, and it's so nice to see her enjoying it again.
Gonna look dreamy. Well, I think this is a pretty good place to end our ride.
I think so too.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to chat to you and see these roads. So what's coming up next?
I have quite a busy second half of my schedule. Tour of Norway. It's definitely going to be a long season, but I'm glad that I'm racing.
Yeah, for sure. On that note, let's end it there. Ice cream?
Yes, please.
Well, a big thank you to Elynor for showing us all her home roads. Now, we've most recently seen Marta Cavalli in action in the Olympic Games, of course, but she's been visible all season, Robyn, hasn't she? And a great Giro from her too.
Absolutely. You know, not only was she the best Italian rider at the Giro, which is absolutely sensational, but she was consistently up there throughout the stages within the top 10, finishing the day. And I just think that's really impressive from someone, especially, you know, with her track background, who's now trying to sort of progress more onto the road, that we're just getting to see more of that aspect from her, where she's actually, you know, going out there and contesting, I want to say, in these finishes. And she was 8th at Strade Bianche, so it's been nice that she's sort of building on that ground that she's now been able to get.
And speaking of that background in track, she's had a phenomenal track record, hasn't she, on the boards?
She has, so 6-time European champion in the team pursuit, which is incredible. And it's really interesting what the Italian team have done with men's and women's squads over the last few years. They've really sort of used the track programme and used team pursuit as sort of a development tool for a lot of riders. And we've seen a lot of people cross over and sort of mix track and road together. And so in her case, really sort of more of a track background and now focusing on the road a lot more. But it's really interesting because you don't normally think of track riders as being good climbers or vice versa. But actually, I think the track can be a sort of really good foundation for any type of cyclist. You know, it gives you a lot of speed, a lot of discipline, a lot of skill. And clearly that's paid off for her.
And this season is the first that she's purely focused on the road and not track, and it's showing.
Yeah, she was FDJ's only off-season signing, and I think it's worked wonders for her. She came into this knowing that she would get her opportunities to some extent, but she would also be working for Cecilie on the other hand, and especially when we saw Cecilie go down in the crash on stage 1. She sort of had to then step up to a newer role that I'm not sure she necessarily would have expected herself to be in at that position. But it works to her advantage, I guess, when you think about the riders who are going to be in the decisive split on a road. You would tend to think of, you know, Anna van der Breggen or people like that. But the fact that she's managing to get there is great because she might not necessarily be the first thought on people's minds, and that works to her advantage.
Now coming up in August is the Ladies Tour of Norway, which should be the final edition because it's set to become the Battle of the North next year. Now Marianne Vos sprinted to win in fine form back in 2019, and we can now take a closer look at her victory on stage 3.
So here she is launching her decisive attack on the climb. A few people are trying to catch onto her wheel, but given that it's Marianne Vos, she's very explosive.
Attacking from the front here, you can already see like everyone's trying to respond, but sort of gaps are just starting to open up.
She just rides her own race. Like, she doesn't need to sort of look around and judge whether she should attack now. Like, she knows how she feels and she's going now, as we can see.
Yeah, so this is a lap to go, and it's sort of like bodies all the way down the road at the moment. But it is Rivera that we're looking at in the red jersey that's going to be the one to sort of go across to Vos.
As a chicken.
So this is coming into the finale, and you're just looking back at the bunch here. This is Group 2 on the road, so they're chasing, and that's Cassie Nieuwendomen on the front there. So she's not the sort of rider you really want chasing you down. She's incredibly strong. So I think we could see the pace has sort of come off for Vos and Rivera up front. But yeah, big chase going on behind now.
So Floortje Mackaij is still trying to catch the wheel of Cassia, but it sort of feels like she's still narrowly sort of managing to bridge.
So now just coming in at 200 metres to go. They both look round and seen the danger, but despite that, they're sort of swinging across the road, looking at each other. And here, Vos launches the sprint. They've realised that they can't sort of hang around too much longer because the other riders are quite close behind. And I love how Rivera just sort of swung across the road, forcing Vos to the front because she didn't want to lead her out. Ideally, on this sort of long, hard sprint like this, you want to be behind, you want to wait and wait and wait. So that's why Rivera's swung across and sort of forced Vos to take it on. But here, Vos launches a blistering move. Rivera tries her best to respond, but Vos just takes out that gap immediately and then just increases it towards the finish. And Rivera's sort of done the right thing there by forcing Vos to take it on, but just hasn't quite got the legs to follow her.
Just an immense display of power from Marianne Vos. The way she's just detached from Rivera was incredible speed.
She's got that jump like I've never seen anyone else have a jump that strong as her. And yeah, as soon as she's got that gap, Rivera's got no real answer, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And like I say, all the way to the line, finishing it off.
And looking ahead to this next edition of the race, what can we expect, Robyn?
Well, we can actually expect quite a lot. There's opportunities for sprints, breakaways, and climbing. So it should be a really exciting race. But one of the best things, actually, on stage 3, they've included a mountaintop finish for the first time. So it's roughly about 10 kilometers in length, and at some points it's a 10% gradient. So that should be a really explosive sort of penultimate day for us to really watch, and I'm very excited about it.
Well, Coryn Rivera is back to her winning ways this season, and now it's time to find out how her mind works in Something About Me.
I have an unreasonable fear of fruit and bugs. A quote from a movie that I always say is, "What you do in life echoes in eternity." Since childhood, I never grew out of my own clothes because I never grew. The best smell in the world is bacon. My favorite photo is one of me, my dad, and my younger sister from a bike ride, and my sister and I were wearing world champion jerseys when we were really young. The thing I miss most when I'm away from home is In-N-Out burger and mac and cheese and American snacks. One thing that they should bring back from the past is life without cell phones. Weirdest thing I've won at a bike race was a lamp. I have a collection of quarters of each of the US states and pressed pennies from amusement parks and national parks. The thing some people do that I don't get is stressing out. The most awesome ice cream sundae would be Just Mint chocolate chip ice cream. My hometown is famous for Tiger Woods. We're both from Cypress, California. My signature dance move involves alcohol. The skill I most want to master is eating faster.
Well, I think that a lamp has to be the strangest podium prize so far. Jo, have you had anything to beat that?
I actually won a pressure washer once, like for a patio. I was about 19, didn't have my own patio, but gave it to my parents. So it came in useful. Yeah,
voucher.
Yeah, you get a lot of flowers. I love flowers, you know, everyone does. And a trophy's nice, but yeah, useful prize that was.
So it wasn't even like a bike pressure washer, it was just for patio.
I think it was like a serious patio one, which I'm sure you can use on the bike. I mean, it might not go so well, but yeah, no, it was a proper like patio one, definitely.
Brilliant stuff as ever. Well, that's almost all we've got time for from this episode of the Bunnyhop. But before we go, I've got one final question to put to each of our studio pundits. And as ever, we threw that wide open to you bunny hoppers over on social media. A big thank you to Cycle L over on Twitter for this question. And that is, what would be your ideal post-race ice cream?
Well, first of all, great question. Post-race or post-ride ice cream, definitely always a winner. I quite like an almond magnum or two, maybe. I've been known to have more than one.
Love that about you. Just go for it.
Got to go
embrace
big,
it.
definitely.
You do, go big or go home. And for you, post-ride?
Yeah, definitely not post-race, is it?
I think I might have thrown in the race, but post-race, post-ride.
I'll tell you what, right? You go to the ice cream van and you get one of those like double cones. Probably the standard vanilla ice cream, right? But then you got to add to it. So you probably get like a little bit of blueberry sauce and then like some flakes and then like the sweets that they put on top. Like just go all out and absolutely ruin everything that I just did on the ride.
No, that is not how it works.
Sorry.
Embrace it. And I have to agree with Coryn. It is actually mint chocolate chip ice cream for me all the way. Girl after my own heart. Well, Jo, Robyn, thank you so much for joining me today in the studio. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll be back next month, but in the meantime, don't be a stranger, be a bunny hopper. Give us a follow over on social media using the handle @thebunnyhop_cc. Well, we'll see you next time, and until then, keep riding, keep watching, and keep bunny hopping. Bye-bye.